Koutou, Wansang Ho. Thank you so much for the nice introduction. I acknowledge also here this evening, firstly my colleague Paul Goldsmith, who's going to speak to you later, my fellow speaker Peter Thompson, and my dear friend Dr. Jean, who's been a really good supporter of mine over a number of years. So thank you very much for all of your support over that time and for inviting me here to speak tonight. I hope next year I will feature in your video. I know there's been a lot of video being taken tonight, so I'll have to turn up next year and have a look. And can also acknowledge Simon Bridges as well. I remember Simon, particularly for the very first time I ever had to ask a question in the House in opposition. And I was terribly nervous. It's a big deal for a newbie backbencher to ask a question of a minister in the House, and Simon was sitting next to me, and right as I got to stand up to ask my very first question, terrified, hands trembling, sweating, he leaned across and said, "Don't stuff it up, Stanford." So it's burned into my memory. We did also say, Paul, we all tried to stop a meeting, your entree, but you wouldn't listen, so not our fault. And I'm really pleased to be here this evening to talk to you about immigration. It is a real passion of mine. I remember in opposition when Judith Collins was the leader, I went to her and said I would really like to take on this portfolio. I love it. It's really detailed, it's nerdy, there's a lot of policy, there's a huge act that you have to get your head around, but I love it. And my father was a migrant to this country, and I grew up hearing the stories about how they came to New Zealand on a boat in the 1950s. He was Dutch, so they were eating a lot of sauerkraut, and hearing the stories of why they came to New Zealand and how they really found their way here and had to work, as you will all know, so very hard. Dad didn't speak the language. He was 5 years old, in school, only spoke Dutch, and that will be the story for so many of our migrants in New Zealand, and that's what I grew up hearing those stories of. So it is a portfolio that is close to my heart, a portfolio that I really wanted in opposition. And then I was extraordinarily lucky. When Christopher Luxon became the Prime Minister, he phoned me up, that call that you wait for after the election, and he asked me to be the Minister of Education, but also Immigration, and I was extraordinarily grateful to him for this opportunity. Because it is a really important part of our economic growth story. And you will hear the Prime Minister and all of our ministers talk a lot about economic growth. It is absolutely vital if we want to pay for the things that we need, law and order, good health care, good education system. If we want to pay for those things, we have to earn our way in the world. And our story of economic growth is absolutely crucial, and the part that I play in that is crucial as well. And I sat down with the Prime Minister and I said to him, I see part of my role as saying to business people like you all here this evening, you need confidence in an immigration system that gives you access to the skills and the knowledge and the people that you need to have confidence to grow your business, to invest in your business here in New Zealand. And I play an important part of that. Now it's not been particularly plain sailing, smooth sailing. When I became the minister, you may remember that in December 2023, immigration was running really high. Our net migration figures were 135,000 net migration rolled in at that month, December 2023. That is not sustainable. Not only that, you will also remember those awful stories in the news about migrant exploitation. You remember the stories of 40 men crammed into a house in Auckland who came to this country for a job in a better life. There was no job when they got here. They'd been exploited. It was particularly prevalent in the Chinese and Indian communities, and we had to get on top of that. So part of my role straight off the bat was to make sure that we were protecting our workers and also getting net migration under control. So we made a number of changes, and many of you will remember those. We said, look, it's really important that you're coming to New Zealand in order to protect our workers, to make sure that they're not being exploited. They need to have a base level of English, and they need to have some skill in the job that they're coming to do. So we made some initial changes, and I can tell you here today that we have got migrant exploitation under control. It will never go away. There are always businesses and there are always people who look to exploit other people. We will do our best, but I can tell you that the numbers have dropped significantly since we came into government. So we spent a good first few months getting on top of that, and getting on top of net migration. But since then, my focus has been on making sure that we are setting the conditions for good economic growth. And I hope today, with those of you who have businesses who have been relying on the immigration system, you will be starting to see some of the benefits of that. Because when I came into office, it was taking a good 5 or 6 months to bring a worker into New Zealand, and many of you will remember that. You had to get accredited, then you had to do a job check, and then you had to get your worker visa. That whole process was taking 6 months. Now, when you were looking to grow your business, and you need that talent in your business right now, 6 months was far too long to wait. So we've spent a huge amount of time over the last few months making sure that Immigration New Zealand are on our foils. We are now processing those visas that you need to get that skill into the country much faster than we ever have. And I got a report back last week to say that from beginning to end, from accrediting your business right through to getting the worker their visa, we're doing it in under 20 days today. So it is much, much better than it was. And we know that we needed to do that because as the economy turned, as we came out of recession, as those green shoots were starting to show, and as business confidence was coming back, we knew that Immigration New Zealand had to be on its foils so that we could process things really quickly. So if you give us documents, all the documents we need, and we've got a decision-ready application, we are processing things really quickly. So you can have confidence in this room tonight that Immigration New Zealand is on its foils and ready to accept those applications. But more than that, there are so many obviously more parts of immigration than just bringing in workers. And many of you will have family and friends who want to visit. We've also made sure that it's really important that we get our visitor visa processing times under control as well. And I'm very pleased to be able to say tonight that when we process a Chinese visitor visa, we do it faster than almost any other country. It takes us, on average, 6 days. So we've worked really hard in that space as well. And just recently with Immigration New Zealand, I said we need to make sure we're actually telling this really good story, and we're telling it in Mandarin as well. So we've made sure that actually you'll see on our immigration website now Chinese language pages telling you about how quickly we can turn these visas around. And then there are multiple entry visas. When we process a Chinese visitor visa, it is a 5-year multiple entry visa, which many people don't know. So we're trying to be a lot more transparent and open and more communicative in different languages as well. One of the big things this year, one of my proudest achievements this year, I have to say though, has been the Active Investor Plus visa. And many of you I know are interested in that visa. It is a visa that's been close to my heart because it used to be a visa that I used to call the golden goose. It used to bring us in $1 billion a year in investment. It was one of those visas that really was a shining star in immigration. There were some issues with it that could have been tweaked. Unfortunately, the previous government mucked around with it too much and killed the golden goose, and now I say they created the lame duck. Because over the last 2.5 years, the numbers of investors have dropped off a cliff, and I think actually dollars in the country in terms of investment has been about 75 million, compared to $1 billion, and that's over 2 years. So you can see the difference. We had to do something. And to all of you out there who fed back into the process, can I say thank you? Because I asked Immigration New Zealand, I said, you need to go out and talk to people. Too often we get stuck in our offices in Wellington and we create policy that doesn't always work. And so I've made sure that Immigration New Zealand is a lot more receptive these days. And I said to them, go out and talk to people. So they have been out talking to investment companies, to banks, to immigration agents and lawyers all around the country. And they put together a policy that I think was very good. We then went out and we consulted on it at the end of last year. And I think that was the reason for its success. I remember Immigration New Zealand coming to me and they said, well, Minister, is it okay if we go and talk to the banks? And I said, I never want to hear you say that again. Don't ask me if you can talk to people. Just do it. I expect that's what you're doing all of the time, because that's how we make good policy. And I think this active investor policy was an example of that. They went out, they spoke to all of you, and we ended up with an investor visa that has been extraordinarily successful. So it's only been open less than a month, and as of a week ago, I haven't got today's statistics, but as of a week ago, we've had 52 applications, and that is almost as much as the last 2 years combined in just three and a half weeks. So predominantly, we're getting investors out of America, investors out of Hong Kong and China, and some out of Germany. And I know there's a lot more coming. I've talked to a lot of agents and lawyers who said we've got a lot more banked up ready to come. There's going to be hundreds this year. Now that's significant. It's significant because they are predominantly investing in the growth category, which is the investing directly into New Zealand businesses or into managed funds. That's the higher risk portfolio rather than the $10 million of bonds or equities that they could choose. That's important because that helps New Zealand businesses to grow. And so when we're talking about our growth agenda, having foreign capital coming into this country who are investing in our local businesses is extraordinarily important. And we have had so much interest. And the people who are interested are the most fabulous people. They've run their own companies, they're enormously successful. The contacts that they have around the world are invaluable to our businesses here in New Zealand that they're investing in. But more importantly than the $5 million that they invested straight away, we know from all the research that actually once they're here, once they've put their initial investment in, they go on to invest so much more. Because it's so easy to fall in love with this country, as you all know. It's so beautiful, the people are amazing. We've got abundant natural resources, we've got a stable democracy. And what we see is that for every dollar that they invest, they go on to invest $2 to $3 more here outside of that initial investment. It is hugely beneficial to New Zealand. So that $1 billion a year I talked about, really that was $2 or $3 billion because of all the extra investments that those investors put in. So we've not really had great data in the past. It's been a bit sketchy, but what we are going to do now is we are going to make sure we're asking those investors where they are investing outside of their initial investment. So moving forward, we have really good data on this. It is extraordinarily successful. I'm very proud of it, and I expect it to be even better in the future. One other thing I know that you will be interested in as well is family reunification. I know that for people who move across the world, who sell their home, uplift their children, move across the world, it's really hard to leave family behind, especially parents. And you will remember in the election we talked a lot about family reunification and parent visa. There are some visas in New Zealand that exist at the moment that you can apply for to have your parents or grandparents come to New Zealand. But it is only an 18-month period out of 3 years. So in the election period, we did talk about a much longer visa, a 5-year multiple entry visa, and I can tell you that we're working on the finer details of that policy at the moment. It is one of those visas that is quite detailed. We've been working on it all year. We'll have more to say, but it is really important. It's not just about the connection, the family connection, but I know that for so many families who've moved across the world, there is no family support. Like I know when my children are sick, it's my mum who comes to look after them. You know, when my husband was in hospital, it was my mother and father that came to help out, to cook, to clean, to bless them, and to help look after the children. And for so many migrants who move here, they don't have that family support. And I know how important it is to you and your families to be able to have parents come help with childcare so the ladies or the men can go back to work. It is such a vital part of families. So we've acknowledged that. We're working really hard on that visa at the moment, and we will have more to say on that in the future. On student visas as well, a big part of growing our economy is making sure that we're bringing back our students. You know, before COVID, of course, it was one of our biggest export markets. And so it is coming back, but we can do so much more. And we're working really hard to make sure that we're especially inviting those Chinese students to come back to New Zealand. Not only in the university sector, but in schools as well. So we're working very hard there. Can I also say, and I forgot to mention this earlier, one of the things you'll hear a lot is about the fact that we haven't managed to get back our Chinese visitors as much as we would like. We used to have really strong Chinese tourism in New Zealand, and since COVID it has decreased, and you will hear the number about 65% Chinese visitors are back. And that is true in terms of Chinese visitors who landed in New Zealand, but it's actually much better than that, because I looked at the statistics the other day, and actually we're about up to 85% of Chinese visitors who have applied for a visa, been granted it. They've got a year to come to New Zealand, so they're hanging on to that visa and they're waiting to come. So we can see in the future, and over the course of this year, we expect to see many more of our Chinese visitor friends coming back to New Zealand, because we can see they've applied for visas. So there is a bright shining star at the end of the tunnel, because COVID was a really difficult time for immigration, especially when we opened our borders. And you will remember, and many of you who own businesses will remember, how difficult it was to get staff. Many businesses said to me, Erica, we just need someone with a pulse, literally just to help us get through after COVID. There was a huge amount of pressure on Immigration New Zealand to open the borders and just let people in. And because of the amount of people who wanted to get in, we really did compromise our borders by not properly assessing risk or checking documents. And that's what led to all of that migrant exploitation I talked about at the beginning. It took us a long time to make sure we are properly assessing risk and also processing visas in a speedy manner. We've got that right at the moment. We're sitting right in the middle of really good speed, but also making sure that we are properly assessing risk, properly verifying documents, making sure that our borders are not compromised. So I have to acknowledge the hard work of Immigration New Zealand in finding that sweet spot. And the last sweet spot I'll talk to you about this evening is the 10-cent coin that I have to land my jumbo jet on every day of the week in this portfolio. And that is when it comes to the balance between making sure we get the skilled workers we need in the country, but also putting Kiwis first. And many of you will know that my colleague, Louise Upston, has got an extra 50,000 people on the job seeker benefit. And it's her job and this government's job to make sure we're moving them off benefit and into work. Because we know the longer people stay on the benefit, that the worse the outcomes are for their families and for their children. It's one of the worst things you can do as a child is grow up in a benefit-dependent household. And it's on our government to make sure that those young people are growing up in a house that has at least one parent working. So, while we are wanting to make sure that you and your businesses get access to the skills that you need, we also need to make sure we're putting Kiwis first, because they're our kids, they're our neighbours' kids, and they're our people that we need to put first as well. So those are the two things that I sit in between, and making sure that I've got that balance right as well. And I think we've got that right at the moment. When you are, and many of you will know, when you are applying for a work visa, we will ask you to please check with Work and Income New Zealand, have you gone to the New Zealand market? Have you checked that there is a Kiwi in New Zealand that can do that role? And we appreciate very much the fact that you are going that extra mile to make sure that there isn't someone here who could fill that role for you. And where there is not, then we will process your visa really quickly and make sure you get that skilled worker in the country. Because, as I've said, we will back you, we want to back your businesses, we want you to have the confidence to invest and to grow. Because if you grow, then that helps out my other friend, Nicola Willis, very much. As the Minister of Finance, she's got it really tough. It is tough economic times, and she's doing a fabulous job with this year's budget. But the better you all do, the easier her job is to say yes to more people like me when I come to her asking for money to spend in immigration and in education. So my job is to support you. I hope that you are seeing some of the fruits of my labour over the last year or so, and that when you are dealing with Immigration New Zealand, that you are seeing them be far more timely, receptive, communicative, and open and transparent. So with that, I thank you very, very much for having me, and I'm happy to talk to you afterwards if anyone's got any questions or comments about immigration or anywhere we could do better. Please find me and let me know. With that, I'll say thank you very, very much.
I don't know if you do, but given that we're doing a little Q&A, so there you go. I'd like to open it up briefly for any questions from the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions for the Honourable Eric Stanford, I'm sure there's some immigration advisors in this room. There always is. So now's your chance to ask a question. I'll ask a brief one and then we'll see if there's anything from the floor. Minister, you struck a balance there, it seems to me, between the need to ensure there's not migrant exploitation, that we haven't got unbounded immigration, but also, of course, the need for economic growth. How do you strike that in your head? How do you get that balance right?
Yeah, well, it's not a particularly easy one. There are, as I say, these two pull factors with me all of the time. Because I'm out visiting businesses every day of the week. And look, they make comments to me, Erica, we are trying to employ local people. We're trying to do our best, but look, we can't get people to show up. We can't get people to pass drug tests. We can't get people to commit to the hours that we need. And the migrant labour that they get are reliable, they turn up, they work hard, and they make great Kiwis because they want to make a life here. And so my message to them always, though, is that we've got to give our young people a chance and make sure that we are investing in them so that they are work ready. And it does take a little bit of extra effort, but it's worth it because we know that young people who go on benefit before they are 20 are on that on average for more than 10 years, and it's not a great statistic. So not easy, but I think we're managing it pretty well.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the floor? Minister, has a chance. Oh, here we go. Yes, sir. Come stand up. Say it loud then.
Oh, hi. I'm from Bio International. We just got one question. Erica previously mentioned the QDII found from China is not acceptable for the new active investor class residence application. So, but as we all know, that's the only fund transfer channel for the funds in mainland China. So now we have many potential clients interested to apply, but they are just stopped because you mentioned it's not acceptable. So in the near and foreseeable future, do you think immigration agency will make some changes to make the policy more friendly to the investors in mainland China? That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, look, thanks for your question. We do have, in about 18 months, what I've asked them to do earlier, in 12 months if we can, we are going to do a review of the policy to see if there's anything we need to tweak or change. But the previous government made some changes that we have just carried on, which is that the funds that are invested need to be from someone's personal bank account. And they need to be funds that are not mandatorily repatriated at some point in time. And that's not particularly the QDII, but anyone from any country who's investing money, it needs to be money that can stay here and that doesn't have to be repatriated at the end. And so we've kept that policy in the new AMIP visa, and it will stay for the foreseeable future. But as I say, we are doing a review after 12 or 18 months, and we can certainly take a look at things again. But we want investors who are coming here with their funds, who are looking to invest for a long period, not people who are coming whose funds have to be repatriated at a certain point in time.
Any other questions? Oh, there we go. And we're going to take like two more, I think. We'll see you. So, yes, I know your name, so you're going Derek, great wine guy, future master of wine.
Mr. Honourable Stanford, I have a more system question. So we have lots of people who migrated to the country, they're looking to invest in real estate. Can you provide us some insight or maybe forecast what exactly the policy change will come regarding migrants who come to the country wants to invest in property? Because a lot of people, when they look into the investment, that will influence their likelihood to stay in this country, especially if they sell house of their money.
Yes, and I agree with you. When you are asking someone to come and invest $5 million or $10 million, it's difficult to say to them, but you can't buy a house. but those are the current settings, and it's a setting that we are having discussions about. I'm not going to announce or say anything tonight, it's sort of above my pay grade somewhat, but there are conversations that have been happening, and I know that my friend Mr. Thompson this evening will likely have something to say about this as well. I know that those investors, when they are here, they want to show off New Zealand, they want to invite their friends, their wealthy friends who want to stay as well, to come to their home and enjoy New Zealand and enjoy their home, and it's difficult to say to them, you've got to go find a rental. Some of these people have never rented, for years. So it's something that I think would be great to change, and something that we are having discussions about.
Do you think it's going to happen in the next 4 months?
Look, I can't say. I can't give you an indication of when it will happen. But what I can say is when it does, if it does happen, the active investor plus visa will go even more gangbusters than it is now. I think it'll be one of the things that will really set it alight.
Thank you. Derek, in addition to selling wine, has a mushroom farm. He gave me an outstanding brown bag of shiitake mushrooms. I cooked them up, and I'm pleased to tell you no one in my family died. That's a true story. I meant to send you a thank you note, but then you've been thanked on stage. We're going to take one more question. I saw some over here. Yes, ma'am, down the back there.
Hello, I'm Angela. I'm an investment advisor at Forsyth Bar. I specialize at the AIP investment in our company. I've got a question regarding the growth category. So for that specific category, the clients are required to invest in direct investment or VC and PE space, but the time frame for that is sort of around 3 years. That has imposed a little bit of a challenge from our space, because we know that for VC and PE space, that's normally a little bit longer term compared with the bond and the equity market that's more liquid. So I just want to see your view, or if there's going to be any review for that time frame as we consider VC and PE would normally be a longer sort of term for investment. Thank you.
Well, I can say that they're more than welcome to invest their money for as long as they like. But look, that's not something that's been raised with me before, so I'll come and chat with you afterwards, but that will be something we would need to take stock of in our review after 12 months to see if that's working or not. I mean, the feedback we've had so far has been really positive, and no one's mentioned that, so, but you're one of the experts, so we should be listening, so I'll come and have a chat with you about that. Thank you.
Well, Erica, thanks so much for that full set of remarks and answering some questions here from the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honourable Erica Stanford.
从涉及到施工的一站式服务，电力土木工程业务包括电力基础设施相关的土木工程和路面恢复。我们严格遵循行业标准，确保电力管道铺设和施工安全。交通管制业务包括天梯设计、审批、到现场交通管制施工、道路恢复、道路减速带铺设，从规划到获批全程负责。充分考虑有效施工与交通需求，保障道路安全，为您的项目节省时间，提高效率。华夏三通，华夏交通管制，以为客户做好服务为根本，用务实的做，您的满意是我们永恒的追求。
我们的业务呢，包括从水电网、煤气从申请、审批到施工的一站式服务。我们还会帮助客户和电力公司、网络公司去争取最有效的施工方案，为客户节省施工的成本。我们还